Here's the mind-boggling question that we face, and I think it's a very positive and exciting question. Has technology finally progressed to the point where human beings can now enjoy good, satisfying sex with factory-built partners? Thank you. Thank you. I could while away the hours, taking colder showers till hormone levels fall. 'Cause with the ladies I am smitten, I could be the next Bill Clinton if I only had a doll. I fantasize that I could fiddle with a girly individual, but the ladies just withdraw. But with the plan I am hatching, genitalia I'll be scratching if I only had a doll. Oh, I could tell you why all the dolls look like a whore. I think of fetishes I never thought before. I'm gonna squirt, then squirt some more. I would not be just a nuttin', my girl I will be stuffin', an orgy free for all. My gorgeous lady really pleases, I won't catch no more diseases if I only had a doll. Men would enjoy far more exciting sex lives if they'd simply admit one fact. When it comes to using technology and factory-made products for sexual gratification, women are 50 years ahead of men. Let's give credit where credit's due. These products are made of high-quality silicone. It's the identical material used to construct real dolls. The same company that makes the dolls also produces the dildos and the vibrators in the same building. So if sex toys are perfectly fine for women to enjoy, and according to many psychologists are a sign of healthy independence and liberation and strength and taking charge of your own sexuality, then you can't turn around and say that any man who uses sex toys must have something wrong with him. Our inconsistency here is comical. The use of sex toys is practically the only area where men, rather than women, are the victims of gender bias and discrimination. I've always believed in equal rights for all ethnic groups. All ethnic groups. So I'm not about to discriminate against this woman and say that she can't have sex with me just because she happens to be a silicone American. Buying a sex doll really isn't that big a step forward. A lot of women out in California are already 90% silicone, so what's an extra 10%? Let's not be petty in our criticisms of this fine woman. I mean, she's only human. I've always been an early adopter of any new high-end technology. I paid a little over $7,000 cash for the doll. And every doll is custom built to your own exact fantasy specifications. You choose hair color, hairstyle, eye color, bust size, even how you want the makeup and the lipstick and fingernails to look. This is every man's dream come true, to design his own ideal woman. I was so excited the day the doll arrived. I opened the big shipping container and she looked so gorgeous and so sexy. They dressed her in skimpy, sultry lingerie, and she was holding a rose for me. and they'd placed a little hint of perfume on the side of her neck. I lifted her up in my arms and carried her to the bed, and just my luck, her period started and she got a migraine. Underneath the flesh-like silicone of the dolls, there's a stainless steel skeleton that allows you to pose and manipulate the dolls any way that you wish. Real dolls do not move on their own, like a science fiction robot. The dolls' bodies are solid, not hollow inside. Fluids can't be trapped inside the dolls. My doll weighs about 83 pounds, which is somewhat lighter than a human female of the same size. I named my doll Taffy, because I thought that name sounded young and playful, and my purpose in buying the sex doll, to answer your question, was to have sex with the doll. There's no mysterious hidden agenda here. Taffy is a college graduate. She graduated from SMU. You all have heard of SMU. That's Sex Mannequin University. She majored in English Clit. She graduated magna cum laude. On the school's library, they've chiseled in marble the school's motto, "Fuck our plastic twats." On a serious note, I see that we have some wealthy people in the audience, so I hope that I can persuade you to generously support the United Real Doll College Fund. A plastic twat is a terrible thing to waste. With one brief preparatory step, sex with a doll and sex with a woman feel physically identical. That's what the dolls are designed and built for. That's why they cost so much. You know, many people imagine that the dolls are made of hard plastic, like your TV remote, or that the dolls are inflatable, like a pool toy. But real dolls look and feel exactly like a real woman. Now, many people find this difficult to believe, or they don't want to believe it for whatever reason. But it's true. The dolls can arouse and satisfy any man. Taffy's becoming quite well known, so I consulted a home security expert about her safety, and he recommended a foolproof means of protecting a real doll: Barbie wire. The only sexual difference between a real doll and a real woman, and the need for the preparatory step that I mentioned, is that the doll naturally adopts room temperature. If your bedroom is 75 degrees, the doll will eventually settle in to be 75 degrees, and she will feel a little bit cooler than a real woman would at 98.6. To warm up the doll, a lot of men cover their dolls with electric blankets set to body temperature before they go to bed. The next generation of sex dolls may very well generate their own body heat. Just today, Taffy received her shipment from Amazon of 12 new spandex, skin-tight, thigh-high tube dresses. She's wearing one of them right now. When I tried them on today, they looked really hot and sexy. And when I tried them on Taffy, they looked even better. When people see me with Taffy, they often accuse me of promoting unrealistic ideals of physical perfection and of implausible sexual attractiveness. But that was never my intention. I was simply born looking this way. And by the way, if you want to see unrealistic, photoshopped, glammed up pictures of women, and if you want to see magazines that are absolutely obsessed with sex, don't look in the men's magazine section. No, go to your local pharmacy checkout and look in the women's magazine section. Now, you do need to use lube with the dolls, just as you often need to use lube with a real woman. But with literally 2 minutes preparation, sex with the dolls feels identical to sex with the real woman. In fact, if you're using a condom with the real woman to prevent disease or pregnancy, the doll actually feels more physically stimulating. Plus, you don't have to worry about disease or pregnancy. People ask me whether the dolls are like a real woman, and I say yes. The dolls are exactly like a real woman. Each doll is shipped with her own bottle of antidepressants. So that's why you can't have an orgasm. Well, I knew it couldn't be my fault. There are other similarities between Taffy and a real woman. Taffy, of course, is always giving me the silent treatment. And Taffy, like most women, has a very jealous nature. She got really mad at me the other day. We were having sex, and I was just about to finish when I accidentally screamed out the name of a different doll. And worse yet, it was the name of a male doll. The dolls can be penetrated orally, vaginally, or anally. The mouth and throat of the real dolls are 7 inches deep and, by design, form an airtight suction around your penis. Many men report very powerful orgasms. The inside of the doll's mouth is ribbed for extra sensation. You can also come by holding the doll's breasts together and stroking your penis between them, or between the arches of the doll's feet, or whatever fetish appeals to you. The same week that the doll arrived, I attended a political fundraiser where you have your picture taken with your local congressman. And all my friends kept asking me, "Are you taking Taffy to the fundraiser? Are you taking Taffy's picture with the congressman?" And I said, "Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Professional reputations would be jeopardized." I mean, can you imagine a picture of Taffy, the real doll, standing next to a U.S. congressman? I just couldn't jeopardize Taffy's reputation. When you're in bed, these dolls absolutely come to life. They're surprisingly lifelike, almost surreal. Humans can now build machines that fly higher and faster and farther and better than anything in nature. We build cars that go faster than any human or land animal can possibly travel. We build $2 calculators that solve math problems quicker than the greatest math geniuses in history. So this is my message. Technology has now progressed to the point where sex with factory-built partners can be at least as pleasurable physically as sex with natural human partners. And this gives us all a wonderful new option. I guess I'm just presuming she could be kind of human and wisdom she could feign. Don't want to be a slutty teaser, she could dump this horny geezer if she only had a brain. she don't want to be just pretty. She'd charm Nobel's committee, and physics she'd explain. Harvard's ladder she'd be scaling, wouldn't be like Sarah Palin if she only had a brain. Oh, she could help you see why the men are mostly pricks. She'd find a lesbian who knows all the tricks, and she'd be through with sucking dicks. She'd throw away her leather mini, heels she won't wear any, from men she will abstain. Her rubber tongue, made in China, stretches to her own vagina if she only had a brain. I think what you're asking is, what types of men and women buy sex dolls and other sex toys? And the answer is a creative diversity of men and women. Straight and gay, old, young, enjoy these new products. My understanding is that writers and artists especially are inclined to buy sex dolls and sex toys. But people in all walks of life buy them. You can buy male sex dolls as well. And to the women who argue, quite correctly, that the female sex dolls look implausibly perfect, I will tell you that the male dolls look a hell of a lot better than I do, or I ever did. Let me stipulate that. So we're all sharing in these innovative times together. Let's all just enjoy what modern art and technology have to offer us. Historically, women have led the way in enjoying sex toys. Men are only now starting to catch up. And by the way, a sizable minority of customers who buy female sex dolls are female. I've enjoyed a couple of instances already where bi-curious women wanted to experiment with the doll and pretty much had to include me in the adventure since it was my doll. I can accept that. I got a call from the police saying Taffy was in custody for failing a sobriety test. They said she couldn't even stand up on her own. The officer told me also that she'd been charged with resisting arrest. I said, resisting arrest? What's wrong with you policemen these days? I've handcuffed her to the bed a dozen times myself. Real dolls are becoming especially popular now for several reasons. First, the technology itself is vastly improved over, say, 20 years ago. We've all seen those hideous pictures of the old blow-up sex dolls. They were kind of scary looking, but things have really changed. The second reason I think sex dolls and sex toys are gaining popularity is the economic squeezing of the middle class and the negative effect that this has on relationships. Both men and women have to work longer hours now than they used to. Life is more chaotic and tiring and unpredictable. This leaves less time for dating and social and sexual relationships. The internet makes it easier now for us to make initial contact with other people, but it's often more difficult these days to sustain an emotional connection. We're all torn in 20 different directions, and this isn't the fault of women, it isn't the fault of men. It's just part of our current economic reality. I must also say that the overprescription of SSRI antidepressants and the sexual dysfunction that they cause tens of millions of people don't do human-to-human relationships any good either. But even under ideal circumstances, not every man and every woman want to be involved at every moment in their lives in a time-consuming, expensive, dramatic, emotionally draining romance. And that's perfectly okay, often the wisest choice. So sex toys provide an additional option for women and now for men as well. Taffy's getting interested in politics and economics. She gets up every morning and reads her favorite newspaper, the Doll Street Journal. There actually is a publication by that name. That is not a joke that I wrote. Taffy's a huge fan of former President Bill Clinton. It seems that Bill Clinton is now an intern at the Real Doll Factory. Bill Clinton personally tests out each real doll before it's shipped out to customers. That's not a joke either. This is Cabell Huntington Hospital in Huntington, West Virginia. That's where I was born 55 long years ago. How many patients do you suppose are hospitalized here today because they caught a communicable disease from another human being, or maybe they inherited a tendency towards some disease, again, from another human being? And the answer is that there are hundreds. Now let me ask you another question. How many patients do you suppose are hospitalized behind me right now because they screwed a sex doll? The answer, of course, is none. In fact, many of the surgical instruments that are used in the operating rooms back here and at other hospitals are made from the identical high-quality silicone that's used to make real dolls. Why? Because silicone is an inert substance that cannot host microbiological growth like bacteria and viruses. Wash your own hands 100 times. They still will not be as clean as a real doll's hands washed once. So you needn't worry about catching a disease from silicone. But you do need to worry about catching a disease from other people. I had to sign Taffy up for Obamacare health insurance. She's brand new, just put together at the factory, and she's already nagging me for money for a breast enlargement. She said that back at the factory where she was made, she fell in love with one of the male sex dolls. He was a plastic surgeon. The current disadvantage of sex dolls, and I emphasize current disadvantage, is that they can't engage in filthy or erotic talk with you.
You bad boy.
Now, maybe you don't want a doll that talks. I'm not sure I'd want a doll that spontaneously told me during sex to go paint the garage or mow the grass. Many men appreciate the calm, predictable demeanor of the dolls. But, if you're a man who's into endless chit-chat and dramatic surprises, then you're not going to get it from the dolls. Remember, sex dolls are made for sex. They're not supposed to be your Bible-quoting companion at the church picnic. I'm 55, and I don't need Viagra. Taffy will tell you that. But a lot of men my age who take the pills will make fun of me. They'll ask, "What's it like screwing a bucket of nuts and bolts? Do you have to oil that thing? Does your sex doll's battery still charge up in winter weather?" Ha ha ha. Such manly questions they ask. But I tell them, taffy is not like an automobile. However, I often do have to replace taffy's heavy-duty, steel-reinforced shock absorbers. Another disadvantage of the dolls is that you do have to work a little harder during blowjobs than you do with a real woman. As a man, believe me, I can relate to just wanting to lie back and enjoy it and do nothing. So in that sense, the dolls haven't given me the best blowjobs of my life, but by no means the worst either. At least the doll doesn't complain when you come in her mouth or her face or her hair. I've enjoyed taffy so much that I'm seriously considering buying a second doll. I've always had a thing for Asian women, and they make an Oriental-looking version. I'm calling her the Great Doll of China. Or maybe I'll get the blonde European version, the Berlin doll. But they are expensive, so maybe I'll just get a cheaper local version at Doll Mart. You can enjoy sex with the dolls without worrying about pregnancy or disease, or about whether you're pleasing your partner every moment. In other words, you can better relax. And let's be honest, I'm 55 years old. I color my hair, I color my beard. I earn my living authoring books in a solitary environment. Am I really going to find a sex partner for free who looks like that? Am I? Please tell me where. With a real woman, even if you're married to her, you still have to get her cooperation and permission, of course, to have sex. And she has every right to tell you no for 1,000 legitimate reasons. The dolls never say no. They never criticize you for having an overactive libido. The purpose of sex toys isn't to eliminate human-to-human contact, but to supplement it with additional options. Most people are bored with their sex lives. The most popular comment I ever wrote on Facebook was simply this: single people envy married people for sexual reasons. Married people envy single people for sexual reasons. But whether you're married or single, you can add variety to your sex life by using real dolls and other sex toys. There's really no downside to this. I applied for a credit card last month and they turned me down. I don't understand that. If anybody in the world knows how to handle plastic, it's me. Whenever I go to the grocery store these days, the cashier doesn't even ask me whether I prefer paper or plastic. She already knows. And who ever heard of a paper doll? Wait a minute. You can dress the dolls any way that you wish, which is something I've found, to my surprise, that I really enjoy doing. Women choose their own wardrobe, which you may like, or you may not like. Women in some of the stores have seen me pilfering through the women's underwear and lingerie and shoes, and I'm sure they've concluded that I must be a cross-dresser. But I've often wanted to tell the saleswomen that, look, there's a perfectly good explanation as to why I'm looking through the women's pantyhose. I just want my real doll to look like a slutty secretary from the 1980s. Can you help me, please? I got an email the other day from this guy in Michigan who said he owns 8 dolls. 8 dolls. I don't know, but I'm guessing he's a Mormon. People sometimes view the owners of real dolls as somehow odd or even as sexual predators. People have even asked whether I've ever inappropriately touched a woman in the workplace. And I answer, of course not. Don't be stupid. I never harassed a woman at work. I've never had a job. If I could press a button and instantly be in bed with either a real woman or a real doll, I would probably, more often, choose the real woman. But that's not how the world operates, by pressing buttons. For me, it all depends on how much time and work and money and drama are involved in cultivating the relationship with the real woman. Sometimes the relationship is well worth it. Other times it's not. I have nothing at all against real women. Quite the contrary. If I'd just spent $7,000 on a life-size statue of Tiger Woods for my putting green, you certainly wouldn't say that I must have something against Tiger Woods. It's ridiculous. Likewise, you could more plausibly argue that I like women too much, that I'm too attracted to women for my own good. Remember, a real woman can make you happy or unhappy, but a real doll can make you only happy. Sex with Taffy is great. She's been keeping me up to the wee hours of the morning. I've enjoyed a lot of good exercise. So I don't view Taffy as a toy. I don't even view her as a sex doll. To me, she's an action figure. Taffy's a little dyslexic. She gets her words and letters twisted around. But she loves to watch the Weather Channel on TV. Says it makes her horny. I said, why would you get horny watching the Weather Channel on TV? She said that whenever there's a hurricane warning, the governor of the state always orders a mandatory ejaculation. She's a little dyslexic. But there's one TV show that Taffy never watches. She says it just makes her sad. Real Housewives. Like many businesses these days, professional escorts or hookers don't provide the service they used to, and they're not as on time and invariably cooperative as they used to be. Now, if you live in downtown New York City or Las Vegas or San Francisco, and you have essentially unlimited money to spend on sexual entertainment, then you have no problem employing high-end, punctual, drug-free, gorgeous escorts who at least pretend to enjoy their work. They earn every penny of their $1,200 an hour. But most of us don't currently live in these progressive areas of the country, and most people don't have unlimited financial assets to spend on sexual entertainment. I caught Taffy the other day reading a book on witchcraft and black magic. She said that in case her career as a sex doll ever dries up, she might want to become a voodoo doll. She said there really isn't a lot of difference between being a sex doll and being a voodoo doll. In both cases, you're being repeatedly pricked by very strange old men. Or, as another career choice, Taffy said she might want to go to Las Vegas and become a professional hooker. A hooker. She said she's tired of men pursuing her just for her intelligence. The old stereotype was that hookers in middle and low income areas were mostly cocaine and heroin addicts. Now, in past decades, that usually was not the case at all. They were simply working class women trying to earn a living any way they could. They usually provided good service, and you were happy you called them. Today, sadly, it is the case, especially in southern and rural areas, like where I live. It's true that the low-end hookers often are addicts that you need to avoid. But even with very high-end, drug-free escorts, you still have to wear a condom now that STDs are ubiquitous, and so the actual physical sensation you get is, to me at least, less stimulating than the physical sensation from a real doll. The real dolls look and feel so much like a high-end escort that the main difference for the man is almost entirely psychological rather than physical. It's all in your mind. People always ask me why Taffy never smiles. I say, she used to smile all the time. She was always so happy until the moment that she realized that for the rest of her life, I'm in charge of styling her hair, and I'm in charge of selecting her clothes and her shoes. Since she found that out, she's under round-the-clock suicide watch. I don't have delusions that the doll is alive and in love with me. No. I don't talk to the doll and expect to hear a response. But I do love the doll the same way that I love my new car or I love my cell phone. Some of our physical possessions do become an intimate part of our lives and become a type of extension of ourselves. If you've ever dropped your cell phone on cement, your body can almost feel the pain of impact when the phone shatters and breaks. It's a part of you. Taffy loves to talk on the phone. She's always calling me. If I happen to be on the line with somebody else when Taffy calls, I just put her on doll waiting. I'll warn Taffy, don't text and drive. It's dangerous. But she didn't listen. She got into an accident and we had to file a claim with her car insurance company, Doll State. You've heard their TV ad. You're getting a good hand job from Doll State. We've actually been implying a false choice here. We've suggested that either you have a girlfriend, or you have a real doll, or you use escort services, or you masturbate. Well, these various options are not mutually exclusive. We probably want to mix and match different options at different points in our lives. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Variety is the spice of life, especially since the dolls have interchangeable faces. If you get tired of looking at your real doll as she's currently configured, You can give her a completely different face and look in about 5 minutes. Not everyone wants or needs the same thing sexually. We have to respect that and allow people to lead their own lives. Women have used sex toys for decades, and nobody thinks a thing about it. But think of this. Women's sex toys are usually penis-shaped. Whether it's a dildo or a vibrator, women's sex toys are very narrowly focused representations of the male sex organ only, not the entire man. But I have a more admirable, liberated, holistic attitude. I purchased an entire woman, the whole person, not just a detached plastic sex organ like you penis-focused women here on the first row. So, because I view women in their entirety as whole beings, I thought I might be nominated this year for some kind of feminist award. But when I went to the feminist award ceremony, the female presenters didn't show up. I found them all backstage, gouging themselves with their disembodied plastic dicks and complaining about those perverted men who buy real dolls. Owning a sex doll or any sex toy is a private matter. It doesn't involve the community, nor how you treat other people. It's like owning a tennis racket. Owning a tennis racket is neither moral nor immoral. It's merely an object you purchased and hopefully enjoy from time to time. In the future, however, I can see some legal issues arising from sex doll ownership. Would it be considered adultery if a married man, without his wife's knowledge or consent, had sex with a real doll? I would say no, it's not adultery, but other people might disagree, particularly the man's wife. Would it be against the law if I purchased a brothel full of real dolls and pimped them out by the hour to paying customers? The best little dollhouse in Texas? I don't know the answer to that question. The legality of that scenario hasn't yet been adjudicated. But what fascinates me is the divided Christian reaction to sex dolls. On the one hand, you have Christians who think sex toys are the most perverted thing since Sodom and Gomorrah. Other Christians, though, view the dolls as a far better and safer and perhaps less sinful alternative to fornication or adultery with another human being. We live in very interesting times. If a man can fuck a tree, then he should have no problem whatever having sex with a real doll. Trees don't look anywhere near this good in a short skirt. By the way, speaking of trees and sex, do you know what kind of tree gives the best hand jobs? A palm tree. Palm trees are sluts. Whenever sex dolls are talked about in the media, they're almost always portrayed, quite deliberately, in a negative light, because producers and editors know that their audience would reject an entirely positive story about sex dolls and their owners. Oh, people will complain, people will complain. We can't have a totally positive story. We have to include a lot of bad stuff. The same thing is true of prostitution, which is invariably presented as a bad thing due to the media's fear of running a positive story about an unpopular subject. But I think public acceptance of real dolls is nonetheless rapidly growing, just as public acceptance of gay rights has positively advanced. Women have been using sex toys for decades, but men, unlike women, are still unfairly stigmatized for this. And we hear the same silly nonsense today about sex doll owners, and I'm one of them, that we heard in past years about the LGBT community. Oh, this is a perversion. These people need psychotherapy. They must lead such sad and lonely lives. And we certainly can't let these people around our children. To paraphrase Harry Truman, the only new prejudices in the world are the old prejudices resurrected and redirected against a modern target. We always irrationally fear the new and the unfamiliar. Ignore the critical comments of those who lack the knowledge and the courage to innovate. Taffy said she wants to become an astronaut. She wants to be the first real doll in zero G, just floating around in space. I thought, she is kind of heavy for me to lift and carry around. That might be a good idea. I smiled and joked that it would be easier to pick up a woman in the weightlessness of zero G, provided I can find Taffy's zero G spot. If you're wanting to buy a humanoid robot to play tennis with you, and then go home and cook you a gourmet dinner, and then sit down and discuss Aristotle with you, you're going to have to wait decades and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you're like me, if you just love beautiful women and you want to have sex with them, then the future is here now, today. Technology has reached a point right now where sex with factory-built partners can be as pleasurable as sex with natural human partners. I suspect that very soon, sex dolls will be in millions of homes for single people, married couples, straight, gay, old, young, and nobody will think a thing about it. That is, after all, what America is supposed to be about: freedom. Freedom of choice to enjoy our own private lives the way we wish, so long as we don't harm other people in the process. A wise man once said that we all live in various states of self-deception and fantasy. So you should deliberately choose a fantasy for yourself that puts a smile on your face. I know I have, and I'm glad I did.
You scared me, Dorothy. You scared me. Where's that coming from? I guess there's no denying I'm just a spready lion. I'm scared and too reserved. But I'm through with fright and folly. Gonna buy myself a dolly if I only had the nerve. There'd be no hesitating. We'd soon be copulating. I'd lick her every curve. It might seem a little drastic, but I'd buy her though she's plastic if I only had a nerve. I'm a lion in my pride. My doll will be my star. We'll shoot pornography that's even more bizarre than any porn seen by Bill Maher. I will show that tiger sissy who nails the hottest missy respect I do deserve. I'd boldly spend the money to buy my synthetic honey if I only had the nerve.